Community. I'm about to cry. You can really see that. You know, you want to be a community and you push for that. You push for your students so they can have a community. I told you dance ensemble is family. So you push for that. You push for the family. You push for us being together, even though times may be hard, you know, the being there, present in time and space, was really something that I appreciate.
Life is gonna go back to normal, and what you gonna do when you look back from 4 years in high school and you know you didn't still push yourself?
Enjoy the moments, enjoy what you have, like be here, like be grateful for what you have, because like we couldn't have done this, we didn't have to do this, or like we were probably wouldn't be able to do this.
COVID kind of makes you do things you don't want to do, or like forces you outside of your comfort zone a little bit.
Be open, be different. It's okay to not just think everything's gonna be one way. It's okay to change.
I grow every day, so it's not like I'm just stuck in one position. I've learned a lot about myself through this whole experience.
It takes confidence to be a leader, to be able to step out in front of people and say, you know, this is the way that this should be done. Because you have to be able to take criticism from people that doing that as well, because everyone's looking to you.
If you ask for things, if you are open and you're willing to like put yourself out there just a little bit, that things will come to you.
Challenges do not change who you are. They reveal who you are. And what this has revealed is that during this time of great challenge, creativity still happens. Creativity still emerges. And that has been a very cool thing. So this challenge has not changed who we are, it's just revealed who we are.
My name is William Stinchcomb, and I've been with the Columbus City Schools for 23 years.
My name is Mr. Dorsey Birdsall, and I'm a safety and security specialist.
My name is Anita Roman, and I am a Columbus City Schools bus driver.
My name is Samuel Gonzalez. I'm a food service manager currently at Briggs High School.
I know that if I'm not there every day and on time, you know, that student may not have a ride to school. And that weighs on me heavily. And I take pride in knowing that my students can set their clock on me. I'm always, you know, it takes a lot for me not to come to work. It's important to come to work every day, be on time, because we may be the only way that student gets to school.
You know, seeing the kids years later and having them come up to me and say how thankful and grateful they were and happy that, you know, I kept them safe in the district, and, you know, that I can't retire or leave the district until, you know, their kids graduate.
This was one of the best decisions I've made in my life. I didn't expect to live for this, but I love being part of the Columbus City School as a family. I just think because the building represents our districts, for me to see how clean the building is, I can take pride in my effort, and to put the cleaning and the organizing of the building, it just makes me feel a level of pride.
Peaceful mind can accomplish a lot of things. And when a student is hungry, their mind is oftentimes on what the next meal is going to be. In an indirect way, we affect the students in the kitchen. They can accomplish what they have to in the classroom. And for them to accomplish that, oftentimes that's going to better their situation for themselves, their family, and their community. So in a sense, helping the student in an indirect manner with the food is something that I really enjoy.
Columbus, Ohio has so much to offer our youth. The growth you can obtain from being a part of this district is huge. There is such diversity and learning experience happening throughout our K-12 buildings.
I love to see the excitement in the kids' faces when they know they can start school the very next day. So it's exciting for the families. So I think it's very impactful because it gives them that first start to, you know, learning and growing.
You know, I've been working with kids all my life. Coming here, meeting the students, the relationships that I've built over the years is just phenomenal. I mean, I'm seeing students, still see students to this day that thank me. Just, you know, thanks for everything you've done. Thanks for helping provide a safe learning environment. You know, thank you for the talks, you know, and they're really appreciative.
The district provides training throughout the school year, and a lot of information that's constantly updated, and it's always available to us. So that's very helpful in being able to, provide the best service to, our students and parents. The diversity in Columbus and inclusion, it's unlike any other place, really. There's so many different cultures and you come in contact with just on a daily basis, with our students and parents and teachers.
I've really enjoyed the last few years working here at CCS. It's got great benefits, the people have been great, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I've had other job offers, but I've turned them down because I just really like the people, and I like working here.
Run to your computer and apply online. This is one of the greatest kept secrets in the school district, really. This is a great job. Just apply online, it's easy. We have, our training is excellent, and we'll do everything we can to help you get through, and you won't regret it, I promise.
I used to get calls all the time from people asking me about the station. What kind of music do you play? And the canned format was adult album alternative. And so I asked the music director, what does that actually mean? And he said, we play the good stuff. That was the end of his explanation.
Well, AAA music is heavy on the singer-songwriters and the Americana, but we also include blues music, jazz, other styles like world music.
It's not the same songs every other hour. And in 90.5's case, it's not even the same songs each week.
WCB is pretty unique with all the variety of music that we can play and the variety of shows that we have.
We've had John Prine, Ziggy Marley, Warren Haynes from the Allman Brothers. We have had Tedeschi Trucks. The list goes on and on.
The thing that we have at WCBE is experts in music that know where the good stuff is.
Homemade, locally produced programming is what we're all about, and just sort of sitting there and grooving out in a radio station, knowing that I'm doing the same thing with thousands of listeners across the state. I really dig that. I dig that sort of concept.
We're all over the map. It's great music. People that go, oh, I listen to everything. If you listen to everything, all you need to do is listen to us.
This has been a very powerful project. And as we come to a place where the work is not done, the work is still ever present. But as it's nearing the end, I'm thinking, wow, we did something. And we didn't know if we were going to be able to do anything. I just feel so proud, you know. I think I said it already, but this group is really special, and it will never happen again the way that it happened this year with this group of people. And I think I just feel really proud. And yeah, it was emotional though. I mean, and exciting. I mean, they kept saying to me, this feels so different. This feels so different. You know, we're performing with no one in the theater. I'm asking them to dance so big with no one watching except for the four of us. And they did it, you know? So I'm happy. You know, the curtain is closed and they took their final bows, and that was it. So watching them on stage was everything to me, because I didn't know if that would ever happen this year, and it was very emotional. I cried.
I feel complete. Like, my senior year has been complete. Like, even if I didn't get to do anything else, prom, graduation, or whatnot, I still wanted to dance at Fort Hays at least one more time, be on the stage with the lights at least one more time. That's all I was hoping for from the beginning of the school year.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today we have our packet, and thank you everyone for being here this morning, as well as everyone on virtually. We have a somewhat small agenda of items. For today, we do not have a quorum present, so we will navigate with support of our various items. And then for our minutes, we will just review all of those at our next meeting, in which we hope to have a quorum then. All right, so with us officially beginning by is it a motion to go ahead and proceed with our meeting to kick us off, Alex?
We can get started.
Okay.
Yeah, we can just launch right in.
All right, so let's jump right in. So hopefully everyone had a moment to review our minutes from the last meeting. And again, we don't have a quorum, so we will just continue to advance and review and approve at our next meeting. All right, so getting down to our action items, we have 4 action items today, with the first one of 4.01, and I will turn it over to you, Alex, to begin that.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My team is going to carry most of the heavy lifting today, and I do want to take just one quick minute and acknowledge the team for stepping in so swiftly and seamlessly last month when I needed to be out a couple days with illness. So pretty impressive to see the team be able to step right in and keep things moving. So Brandy will take over item 4.01. I think one of the things you've heard us talk about here quite a bit recently is that we are going to make one last push and also work on spending down some of the district's ESSER funding. And so kind of part and parcel with those ESSER funds are the need to ensure that we are meeting the federal Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements. And so we just simply aren't staffed to be able to support that internally. And with the limited time frame for which we need these services, it really just makes sense to contract them. And so 4.01 is a contract to support those services, and I'll let Brandy give you all the detail. So Brandy, hopefully you can hear me. We cannot hear you right now.
Whatever college of your choice or whatever level of collegiate.
So Brandy, if you can hear me, if you'll just hold tight for just a second and maybe just keep speaking. It looks like we're having an audio issue. And forgive me, I promise I'm not just playing on my phone. I got my team on text, so I'm going to group text and see if they can confirm for me what they are and are not hearing right now.
And Alex, I can hear Brandy and you.
We can't hear.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we have no sound at this end, so I think we'll sit tight for just 1 second. I may pop back and make sure the tech team has the same info.
Okay.
6 present. Are we at a quorum? Got you. Thank you. Good morning.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes, we
we
can.
can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. So I will go back. I'm going to go ahead and start over. Is that okay?
Yes, now
please.
that Alex is back. Yes, please. Good morning, Brandy.
Good morning. So for action item 4.01, it is award of contract for prevailing wage coordinator services to Contractor Compliance and Monitoring Incorporated, and it is project number 23023. Here we have for item number 1, the statement of qualifications. This company is actually based in San Mateo, California, and they have 2 subcontractors that will be they'll be utilizing for their LEDE services as well. Here is the proposal. We have about 14 sites that they'll be doing prevailing wage coordinator services for. Here is the scope of services from the company. Their fee is a flat fee of $157,800. And that is based on that proposal that I showed you 2 slides before. We have the working contract at item number 4. And we have LADE Formed A, signed by Terry Wise. They will be utilizing William Taylor and Star Consultants to meet the 20% LADE goal. Do we have any questions?
Any questions, anyone?
This is just what keeps us in alignment with ESSER. Is this correct?
Correct.
Yep, absolutely. So the work is a combination of, so it is largely, I hate to say a paper task, but it is largely an administrative task, but there is also an on-site and a reporting component. And so I do commend this particular firm. I don't know that there's a lot of firms in this space. We were certainly hoping we might get some more local interest, but this particular firm has found a way to partner with a couple local firms, since they can be boots on the ground here if they need to, but they can also leverage that local component here to, number one, make sure they have adequate service coverage for us for the needs of the projects, but also to meet the LADE goal. So I think that's a really nice effort on their part.
Was there any local interest?
So this is the only firm that responded. We did talk to a couple firms that provide the services in general. I'm not sure a lot of them provide them at this volume.
There's not a lot of union work in Columbus. So just by the nature of where we're at, there's just not a big volume. So they do smaller stuff. They just don't have the big volume in this area of the state, just of the state.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that context too, Jennifer. And so if I understand right too, I think probably here locally, the county and OSU would be the biggest agencies that do a fair amount of this type of work. And my understanding is they have their own staff members on staff who provide this service, so that they wouldn't contract for it normally. So in that respect, it kind of puts us in a unique position.
And the ESSER funds are the only projects that require federal prevailing wage, but does the other work you do fall under like state prevailing wage or no prevailing wage?
So really interesting question, Scott. So it very much depends on the source of funds. Our history has been that it is mostly local funds that we're using for construction. And then on our OFCC projects, there's obviously a state match that comes into it. I don't necessarily understand all the history behind it. So many of the state-funded projects are going to be prevailing wage projects, but by statute, K-12 projects are actually prohibited, not only exempted, but prohibited from requiring prevailing wage. So I'm sure there's a huge, long backstory to that one that I don't necessarily understand. But so it's pretty rare for us to have prevailing wage requirements on our projects. And so that again, that does make this part kind of unique for us.
But there's a value by the board where legal to ensure that we are supporters of prevailing wage. Okay. And we've demonstrated that through other elements of our organization when it comes to our collective bargaining agreements.
Okay. Good discussion. Anything else? All right, so for 4.01 in our action items, again, we do not have a quorum, so now will be a call for support and advancement of this for when we have a quorum next time, hopefully. So all in favor of supporting this contract award number 4.01, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? All right, we're in favor to support 4.01 and moving on in our agenda for today. Thank you.
Just one clarification I will make. So like if I understand right, so from a procedural process on the minutes, at some point we should approve them, and so those can wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
These will go to the board for their approval.
Uh-huh.
So they will not come back here again for a formal vote, because at the point the board votes on them, there would be no need for that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
But you could say that there's a general consensus.
All right.
So if you want to ask, if there's a general consensus that there's support moving forward, you can do that.
All right, so I shall do that. Do we have general consensus and support of action item 4.01? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. So next up is 4.02, an award of general contract, and I will pass it back over to you, Alex.
Great, thank you, Erica. So Kurt Keaton is going to take this one. This is a general contract to Vasco Asphalt Company, and this is to do some athletic work across the district.
All right, thank you, Alex. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
As Alex stated, this is our outdoor athletics project, multiple sites. So we have 2 sites in this package here. It'll be Walnut Ridge High School and Mifflin High School. At Walnut Ridge, we're going to be doing resurfacing their tennis court. And just as a point of interest, there is a tennis court directly beside the one that Walnut Ridge is responsible for, owned and managed by Parks and Rec. And so with the addition of our resurfacing, it should provide a nice spot to possibly have some tournament play with both courts right beside each other. So that's just some background there at Walnut Ridge. And then again at Mifflin, it will just be the track renovations with some fencing, a little bit of fence work and some bleacher work. So we'll get right into the project here. So here's a copy of our advertisement. This was what was sent to the dispatch, which points everybody to our website, which is this one. Gives all the important information, and again, talks about that prevailing wage if they do apply for this project. So we'll move on to our agenda for the pre-bid meeting. And again, has all of our kind of boilerplate stuff, all important dates, schedule, again, list the tracks, list the sites, I'm sorry, and the estimates. So we'll move on to the sign-in sheet here. Was not well attended, just Brandy and our architect. And then here's our bid tab. We had 2 firms give us bids, SCG and Vasco, with Vasco being the low bid. Both bids came in well below our estimate, which was great to see. And so here is the recommendation letter from our AOR for Vasco. Our legislation with the dollar amount being $1,955,559. And again, this is ESSER funded and life cycle renewal funding. Here's our working contract showing both of our sites. And our LADE form signed by Terry, but I wanted to point out that they are at 11%. This is mostly due to the nature of this work. We don't have a lot of LADE partners that provide these services, and Vasco does quite a bit in-house, but they were able to get 11%, and we're still looking for opportunities to get that 11 to 20. But again, it was signed by Terry, and so we're happy with the 11%, but we're going to shoot for the 20 as we kind of progress. So do we have any questions?
So with this being a prevailing wage job, how is it that it was a 34% lower than estimate bid? Like, I mean, how does that happen? Did we change the scope? What's like, that's a pretty substantial difference.
I don't know that I have a great answer for you.
Okay.
I would say I think this has been the story of our lives here since coming out of pandemic, is that the market is just all over the place. I think one of the things that's just difficult to navigate, so you see the bidders who showed up. So we had contemplated a bigger project that might have been more in the wheelhouse of a general contractor, and we decided to scale it back to make it a much more like a trade-specific paving. And you see the bidders that came after it. So on one hand, I think it probably helps to sharpen the price. There's less overhead because they're a prime for us now versus being a subcontractor.
Right.
But on the flip side, it makes it more difficult for them to hit their LEDE subcontracting goal, because when you break down those bigger packages into smaller packages, even though the dollar value is still relatively high, this particular contractor is self-performing a large majority of this work. So these are the difficult balancing acts that we've got to work through constantly as we're just trying to get these projects out the door and hit schedules, hit budgets. I don't know if I'm probably not answering your question.
No, I mean,
it's just challenging.
Yeah. Is it, I mean, if we broke down these projects in smaller chunks like this, is that something where you actually could see more cost savings? Is that potentially, or is that really just even, that's not even?
So I think the answer is yes. The risk you start to run into is, so then you get less project, or we as the owner start multi-priming projects, and we all know why we tried very intentionally to move away from that model. So, you know, on a project like this, it's not as difficult because there's not a ton of trades involved. But as you get into more complex projects, you end up multi-priming a project, and so now you're taking the risk as the owner. We need to staff it in a whole different way to manage all those coordination efforts. So it's very project specific. Like this is one where we were comfortable kind of taking it down to that level, eliminating some scope. There's some things that we may try to attempt at a later date. We'll contract separately. Our maintenance team may handle separately.
No, thank you. That's good answers.
Yeah, no, it's a great dialogue. Just a little more information I'll give you too, because if you're not aware, I'm sure it's going to come up at least before we get to the board meeting. So we unfortunately also had a fire at Mifflin High School this past weekend. So our press box, which I think was only about 4 or 5 years old, was destroyed. So no, this contract does not contemplate, even though, so we were planning some upgrades to that stadium, mostly to increase the ADA accessibility. We are still working through with our maintenance team. They put in the bleachers originally, so at least for now, they are planning on handling repairs, but it's such a new thing, I'm not entirely sure. I do think we've gotten to the point where there is no real structural damage. I believe that's a true statement, but I'll confirm that. I don't think we're concerned about losing the entirety of the structure or anything, but there are some pretty significant repairs that are going to have to happen. And right now, I don't know how we'll accomplish that work. And then to Walnut Ridge, it's a confusing situation, but this should make it much better. Where there are actually a total of 5 tennis courts at Walnut Ridge. They are all owned by the district. The 2 that you saw today are the responsibility of the district to maintain. The other 3 are actually the responsibility of Columbus Rexon Park, and they addressed their tennis courts, I believe, maybe 3 years ago. And so they're in pretty good shape, and this will get us to the point where we've got full 5 tennis courts, and we should be able to, as Kurt mentioned, not only support our own team, but also be able to support things like tournament play. So that's pretty exciting for this school.
Alex, can you also, or Kurt, refresh us on the time frame for this work to occur at both of the schools?
Yeah, our schedule will be for this summer. So construction this summer on everything complete by end of summer. So we are planning it both sites for soon as school's out this year.
Okay. And then also for the LEDE numbers, how are we tracking or monitoring increasing that from 11% to get closer to 20%, if not exceed that?
I believe Vasco is in contact with Terry for additional opportunities. I've been in contact with Terry to try to get additional opportunities. All we could really get right now at this point is 11%, but you know, there's other opportunities we can, you know, porta potties on site, hauling on site. So we're still kind of working through that with them now to try to drive that 11% up to that 20%.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe let's talk about that one just a little bit more. You know, so obviously on bid day, again, very contractor specific. Some of them will plan on self-performing all their work. Some of them will have a notion that they're going to subcontract certain portions. They may have bids in at the time they put in their bid. They may not. So we'll continue working with this vendor, see if we can help match them up with other LEDs who can provide any of the services that either they have not already bought out or work that they're willing to consider subcontracting that they might ordinarily self-perform. And then on the back end, so everything is tracked through their pay application process. So there are a series of forms that are going to ask them not only who their subcontractors are, what their anticipated contract values are, and then when the actual pay requests come through, And in the case of the prevailing wage projects, it makes it even easier to track because everything's going to have a certified payroll report that goes with it. So on the back end, there is very thorough tracking.
Do edge companies qualify as part of the LEDE family? Is there space in that community of enterprises?
So I hope I'm going to say this correctly. I sometimes get confused between Franklin County versus City of Columbus, but my understanding is that any vendor that is currently registered with the state of Ohio as an edge vendor would qualify as a district's LEDE vendor, so long as they are located within Franklin County or the City of Columbus. And I'm not sure if it's both or one or the other. Obviously, Franklin County encompasses more than just the City of Columbus, so that there's a little wiggle room in there that I'll need to tighten up for you, unless you know the answer yourself. My apologies.
Oh, no worries. I think our LEDE specialists will be able to answer that question. But I think that we might be able to find there may be, if those companies have the capacity to do it, there may be, and if they are EDGE certified, that's very likely, that they may be able to help with these projects or like projects.
Agreed. I do just want to clarify, so that does not happen automatically. So those vendors would actually need to reach out to us. They need to get registered as vendors. But the same process they go through with the state is actually reciprocal with our district. So it's a very quick and easy process for them to be able to do that. So if there are any vendors that are even questioning or have concerns, they can certainly reach out to me. And I'll just say my email address right now, which is my first initial and my last name, A. Trevino, Trevino, the number's 3260 at columbus.k12.oh.us. And we can certainly take care of any questions those vendors might have.
Any other questions? All right. So with no other questions for 4.02 on our agenda for today, our next item would be to, is to ask for those in favor of support of this item for, again, award 4.02, and then we'll take it, if approved, for support, then we'll do a consensus as well. So just want to give the steps ahead of what we're going to do for this action item. So all in favor of supporting 4.02?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, with that support of this item, do we also agree and support consensus, as this will go to the board next? All in favor of consensus?
Aye. Aye.
All right, thank you. Next up is 4.03, another award of general contract. Back to you, Alex.
All right, so Ansley will take these last two items, 4.3 and 4.04, and just I'll let her handle the bulk of it, but you might remember we brought through a contract for interior renovations to Hamilton STEM Elementary School, I think about a month ago. And so these last two pieces are just kind of some owner-provided equipment that we'll be providing as part of that project.
I think Kurt's got 4.03.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Ansley. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So Ansley will cover that on 4.04. Kurt has 4.03. All right. Thanks, guys.
No problem. All right, thank you, Alex. This is for HVAC renovations at Mifflin Middle School. And as part of the renovation, there will be another portion of that. So just to provide a little background on this, Mifflin High, this was originally built as Mifflin High School, which housed about, or supported about 800 students. So then it was converted to a middle school. And right now enrollment is right around 400 students. So as part of this HVAC renovation, there also is going to be a downsizing portion to this project at this site. So I'll have some drawings here in a few slides, and we'll go over that. So let's jump into this. So this is the proposal from Prodigy Building Solutions for the HVAC and the downsizing. As far as the HVAC is concerned, it'll be almost a total renovation. We're doing the main air handler there. All the air valves are getting switched out for VAVs. We have steam boilers there. Those will be converted to hot water boilers. And also we will be doing some unit vents with cooling throughout that first floor area also. So that's just a little background on the HVAC side. And so here is the building plans I was referring to. So everything in green will still be utilized, and everything in pink will be downsized. So we're just trying to more effectively use the space in the building. And so we'll move on to our legislation. So the dollar amount is $6,700,000. And again, this is ESSER funded with life cycle renewal funding. So prevailing wage will apply on this one as well. Here is our working contract with the site listed. Excuse me. And last is our LEDE form, which is a 20% commitment and has been signed by Terry Wise. So I will go on to, do we have any questions? And I can go back to the slides if you guys want to see any of those again.
I've got a couple, sorry. When you say downsized, what does that mean? Are we demoing that part of the building, or are we just closing it off? What is that?
Yeah, so I'll take that one, Kurt. So we've certainly not done this in isolation. So we've been meeting with our academics team and talking about how we can really improve the situation at Mifflin Middle School, this particular building. It is probably our worst conditioned facility across the entirety of the district. It is a very large floor plan. It's also a particularly difficult to manage floor plan. It's got lots of kind of hidey holes, lots of stairwells. From a student management standpoint, can be very challenging. So the areas of the building that we are going to downsize will be walled off, doored off, made completely inaccessible to anything other than authorized staff. So certainly no students. I'm expecting our custodial team will have full access to it. Ideally, even teachers wouldn't be using it for storage or anything like that, but we'll have to talk through that part. And so we'll provide some basic ventilation and heating for those areas of the building, but they'll essentially be walled off. The goal is to the general public, they won't even know they exist. So it'll be done in a very intentional way. So no gates where people can see through them. It'll all be solid walls, doors, nicely painted. There's also some finishes we'll be redoing in the building just to kind of help spruce it up a little bit as part of this. Some of it's by necessity. We'll need to take down some ceilings to be able to access some ductwork, but we're also going to look at making some targeted improvements to kind of get the quality of the building to a place that we can stay in this facility for a few more years until facility master plan work moves forward.
That kind of leads into my second question. So 6.7 million seems like a pretty high number for HVAC, obviously, but it's actually quite a bit more than the HVAC that's being covered in that number.
Yeah, I certainly don't know off the top of my head. I can't tell you how much of it's being spent on non-HVAC work, but I mean, you're right, it is a big number. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think this is our single largest middle school, and that's largely predicated on the fact it was built as a high school. It's also a particularly complex building. I think it has 6 separate additions to it. I even think, so we've dug through the archives because we did not build this building. It was built originally by Mifflin Township. But I believe the building you see there was originally 2 separate buildings that were then connected with an addition. So I share it because I think it helps you understand like the complexity of the systems that are currently in that building. And so it is a bit of a nightmare to navigate both mechanically and for people. And so we're going to do our best to streamline it and make it work as well as we possibly can until we can get it replaced.
Is the boiler system there part of that HVAC challenge at all, or? I do know that there's still a boiler there, and
for sure, Board Member Cole. So I believe this may be, this will be our last building to touch in terms of classroom air conditioning. This building already has some central air conditioning, although it's not been working particularly well. I believe this may be, if it's not the last, it is one of our last buildings to still have steam boilers in it as well. So it will be, And I want to tell you it'll all be new because part of what we're doing, in spite of the cost, there are some savings there in terms of reusing some of the existing infrastructure like ductwork, but it will be essentially all new systems. It's a heavy renovation, mostly new systems, including brand new boilers. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. I was hoping because he's asked some awesome questions. That's why I just sit back quiet. He's asked some amazing questions.
Yeah,
Because I showed up late, I had to pay attention.
So do let me point out too, like I feel like we don't talk about this enough. So controls are so important too. So this is a building that's still operating. It is probably our last building as well, if not the last, one of the last, still operating on its pneumatic controls. So it is well past its useful life, very difficult to maintain system that frankly doesn't do a very good job maintaining individual temperature control. So it'll be all new controls in this building as well. I mean, we're well past the point where you can fix that system. So I do want to give people some confidence that even if the building doesn't look significantly different, it will perform significantly better than what they're used to.
You mentioned the facility master plan work, and this was one of the 5, right? That I know it's undetermined when that will proceed, but right, it was one of the 5.
Yeah, that's correct, Scott.
Proposed as part of that first wave, this is an ESSER funded project, right?
It is absolutely ESSER funded, yes.
With that funding, is there any fine print in terms of the expectation of how long the building will be kept in operation with this level of investment before we do something else with it?
So I will verify and ask that specific question, but my understanding is no.
Okay.
I mean, from a making a good investment standpoint, it's a great question.
Well, and I think the calculus would be different, right, if it was district capital funding, but with it being grant funded, you can a bit more comfortably make that investment, as long as there's not something in there that says you must keep it in operation for X number of years to ensure that.
Yeah, great question. I will absolutely verify that particular one.
Thank you for highlighting a challenge that we often face on our level of it, and I won't belabor any further, but these are one of the things that we constantly have to consider and think about on our level of it. The South End, Marion Franklin is another one of those schools that's like, okay, we know we need a roof. We know that this roof is this amount of money, but we also know that we're considering other plans for that facility. And then if we made this investment, what opportunity cost was actually missed there? So thank you for uplifting that. These are things that we constantly have to consider with, because of the average age of life of our facilities being somewhat 45 years old. So we have to consider this all the time.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway I would give to that discussion is that is the value of being able to position ourselves to have facility master plan funded and underway, as well as this life cycle renewal work, because that will give us the best opportunity to actually make those investments at the right time, right location, to make sure that we're being not only good stewards of the public money, but we're also supporting the classroom environment and making sure our students and our staff can get their important work accomplished.
All righty. Good discussion and questions. Anything else for action item 4.03? Okay. So next we will call for a vote regarding support of action item 4.03, followed by a consensus. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next will be to confirm consensus for this 4.03 as it will advance to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. Next is action item 4.04, and Ansley, feel free to take it away.
Good morning. Let me go ahead and share my screen for you. Okay, as Alex alluded, we brought this overall project to this group, I believe in February, for the overall renovation of Hamilton STEM Academy. This is a supporting project for that. So that project covered all the construction, making the box pretty. And this is kind of filling the box with furnishings. So you'll see in the agenda item, this is authority to purchase furnishings from Verco for Hamilton STEM project and other academic facilities. And I will get into that other academic facilities piece as we kind of go through the presentation. So just a reminder, kind of current state of Hamilton STEM. These are two pretty typical classrooms. Furniture is not in great shape. Chairs are very mismatched. So with the thought to renovate the entire classroom space, it just made sense to take it to that next step and provide new furnishings for the classroom spaces. So I just picked three kind of grade levels. This is a good example. Most of these furniture pieces are replicated in other grade levels. So I'm showing a first grade classroom. This grade level selected the hex desks that you can kind of orient in multiple types of groups, a little bit of soft seating, and a support table. Fifth and sixth grade both chose this middle layout with rectangular desks and what were called the slide and nest tables. They also have a little soft seating area and that guided learning table. And then the pre-K shows kind of the slide and nest tables in the whole classroom, and a couple grade levels chose that as well. So you're getting all new teacher furniture, all new student furniture, and the support for all of those items with this package. These were all selected from what is our new district furniture catalog that we have been developing with Verco, and I think we're all really excited about this. Furniture is not something we've ever had standards for in the district, so it kind of ends up being very mismatched when you go into buildings between desks and chairs. It's just not all very uniform. So in working with Verco and some folks from our academic side as well, we have developed 6 typical classroom layouts. They vary from desk options that you saw at Hamilton to table options to a mix of the two, and all using a standard kit of parts that you could also then just pick and choose. Like maybe I just need soft seating for a classroom, and then we can invest in the desks and tables another year. So you can either take the catalog as it is and get an entire layout and furnish the entire classroom, or at the end of the year, if you just have a small amount of your budget, you can pick and choose pieces from the catalog to move forward with. Our hope is to standardize the colors of the furniture, the types of the furniture, just to give a little bit more uniformity and equity across our buildings. So that piece in the legislation that speaks to other academic facilities. Our proposal currently for Hamilton is, we're still finalizing, but it's high 400,000s, low 500,000s. So our hope is with the Delta, we're legislating $600,000 not to exceed. So anything that's left over from Hamilton, we would like to get more of this furniture out into the buildings as test cases with the additional funds that are left. This is ESSER funded as well. This is our LEDE Form A. We are not going to meet the district's LEDE goal for this project. We're at 0% currently. With the amount of work that is going on in the building over the summer, we're going to have a very limited window to actually assemble and install this furniture. And Verco wanted to go with one of their companies that does this volume at this pace to ensure that we're ready to receive students and teachers back into the building. We have given Verco several LEDE partners to work with. So as we move forward with the standard catalog, we are meeting that 20% LEDE goal, and they're forging new relationships with new furniture installation companies. Any questions?
Yes. Ansley, thank you for going through the furnishings proposed within this item. For the other academic, if there's funds left over, is there a plan in place on like which schools may be the next best options to test the new furnishings?
So we have a list of schools that are requesting new furnishings. So I don't know how far the money will stretch to get test cases out in those buildings that are kind of already asking for this. I think we'll have to see how far it will stretch after we get the final proposal for Hamilton. But Alex, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we would probably go to those buildings first.
Yeah, so it's, it's a little bit of all of the above. So number one, I do want to acknowledge, so you're only seeing a little bit of this furniture catalog. We have actually not even had the chance yet to socialize it across the organization. So that's kind of next step too. So Ansley has invested a tremendous amount of time with this particular vendor and with our academics and leadership team to put this kind of CCS catalog together with that real overarching goal. Like if you go across our buildings right now, there is absolutely no uniformity. So that's one thing that I think we really need to move towards organizationally. It'll just make us much more nimble and flexible. So if that furniture can leave a building and go to another building to meet somebody else's need and it still looks, it's the same color palettes, we think that's a really good thing for us. So we kind of put it together with the lens that we need to be ready for Hamilton, but also wanting to think far beyond it. So you'll notice on the legislation, it says all cost centers. So we're hoping that regardless of who's buying the furniture, that this is going to be the catalog, the template that it's going to be purchased from. So that purchase might come directly from a school. Principal reaches out and says, hey, I've got some money left in my budget as we're closing down the year. Can you help us select some pieces? And we're going to buy the furniture. And then certainly as we're working on getting our last 2 contracts in place, so we'll be receiving proposals for our big HVAC renovation work to add AC to auditoriums and gymnasiums end of this month. And we'll be working towards our proposals for our big roof project that's also planned for ESSER funding. Our plan would be to use any residual ESSER funds we have on some of these projects like purchasing furniture. Number one, they're quick and easy to do. We can make big impacts in classroom, and we can also kind of push towards this standardization. So not exactly answering the question, but like Ansley alluded to, we have a list of requests from buildings based on what they perceive as their needs. And so as we're bringing projects in and seeing where we're landing overall on budget, this is a good outlet for us to be able to get improvements made in schools. So hopefully we'll have a lot more information to share on that here over the next month, 2 months on HVAC, and then it'll be a few more months on that on the roof work.
So with the furniture, it's Verco, is that right? Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Are they almost acting as a general contractor in terms of the installation? So because this is ESSER funded, it's got prevailing wage requirements. Are they paying a prevailing wage for the furniture installers themselves? Like I mean, typically furniture is exempt from prevailing wage requirements anyways, but is that how this works here?
Yeah, so great question. So, and I did ask this question specifically of our legal team just to make sure that I had the correct understanding. So furniture is exempted. It is not prevailing wage requirement, and we have not added that as a requirement for this particular vendor. Verco is a manufacturer. Ansley, you can correct me, I don't believe they ever do their own installations, do they?
So they do, they have an installation manager that is a Verco employee that's on the ground managing the installation, but he is not, he does not have a crew. They always subcontract the actual installation crew, and it's managed by the Verco installation manager.
Does that help? So, well, so you can imagine every business kind of has their way of typically doing work, and we're going to work really hard with this vendor to make sure that they're able to find some LEDE partners. So on a go-forward basis, I'm not sure they're going to meet their 20% goal because I don't think installation is 20% of the contract, but certainly whatever it is that they can subcontract to make sure that they are going to do that.
All right. So any other questions on this item? Okay. So our next step will be to vote to support action item 4.04. All in favor to support this item?
Aye.
Thank you. And next will be also a quick vote in regards to consensus, as this will move forward to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That takes us through our 4 action items for today. And thank you, Ansley and team. Alex, I will turn it over to you next.
Yeah, so that concludes all of our presentation or action items for today. So we do not have a community inclusion report. So that would take us to any comments the board or anybody else might have to wrap us up for today.
This is Eric Brown. Just wanted to thank you all for your participation and good service and great attention to detail. I also want to commend you for what I perceive, at least, as the increasing attention to LEDE and some good discussion about those issues. It's something that the board views with great importance, and appreciate that all of you do the same. Thank you.
One thing I will point out and maybe make a request of, so I don't, I'm not sure that most people realize how much work goes into planning a project like these interior renovations at Hamilton STEM. It's not that we've kept quiet about it, but there's not a whole lot of, it's not the same excitement you get with a groundbreaking for new construction. But I would really encourage everybody to plan to put on your schedules that after we come back from summer break, to find some time to get out to Hamilton STEM. It won't be a new building, so I'm not going to promise that, but I do think it will be a complete transformation of not only the facility, but the staff and students when they walk into that space and see that some real intention has been given to the, not only the function, but also the aesthetics of that space. I know the staff has been incredibly engaged. Ansley has spent so much time and effort working with not only the leadership, but the staff there. And I think everybody's really excited about what's going to happen there this summer. So again, I don't know that we're going to do a big ribbon cutting or anything like that, but I really do expect some big impact out of that project. So, and certainly it's something we hope we can replicate over and over and over again.
Any consideration to like a time-lapse video of one of the classrooms, the hallway that's getting renovated as part of that?
So we've definitely had some discussion. Like you see a little bit of the photographs, and I mean it really. We'll talk to the contracting team. They'll be the best ones in terms of being able to do it. I don't know which technology might be the best, whether it's old school or we can set up an actual camera. But yeah, I think it'd be pretty neat to be able to see that for sure.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your support today as we work through these items and support me being the chair for today's meeting. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and adjourn today's meeting, and the next meeting is included on our calendars.
Thank you. We'll see you next month.
All righty. Thank you. Take care.